Alright, it's Praxis here with another knife review. This is my third knife review that I'm doing. If you notice a trend here, I like Spyderco knives a lot. This is my third Spyderco. And as you notice again, the knife I have here, like I said before in my last video, the trend I'll be doing or my theme is comparing all the knives I have to my favorite knife and why that is. So of course it's the Spyderco Paramilitary 2. And the new knife that I'll be reviewing today is a new knife in general and a new knife I acquired. I've only been having it for about a year or so. And it's the new Spyderco Delica FFG model with gray handles. This particular knife comes in, I think, 5 different colors, which is kind of weird. They have, I think there's like purple and yellow instead of just black. But I thought the gray was pretty cool, something different. So a couple things about it. I guess we'll start with the handle material. I forgot what this stuff is called. It's either called like Zytel or it's some kind of polymer plastic. One thing about this plastic though, it's not cheap, made in China. It's actually extremely strong stuff. Not as strong as GT, but it's very strong material. You got your standard Spyderco pocket clip. It's not my favorite type of pocket clip, so my favorite style would be the Spyderco Sage, but it definitely does the trick. The locking system is different than the other two knives reviewed. This is a lockback. It's a very classic style. You just press the button to close it and open it. Just locks it back. Extremely strong. This design, I believe, was made after the Buck 110 back in like the 60s or 70s. So it's a very useful lock. The jimping on it is very small, but it's very good. It's very grippy. I mean, your hand barely moves, so you're not going to have any slippage when you go to cut something. There's no jimping at the bottom, which is fine because of the ergonomics right there. Will hold your fingers right there fine. It's got the standard Spyderco hole to open it. I want to say how much every Spyderco knife has this hole. And what it does, it just makes it a lot easier to open. So you just put your finger there. Just opens it very easy. Instead of having like a little nub or like those little lines right there, you open. It's very useful. This steel in this is a Japanese steel. It's made in Seiko City, Japan. It's called VG10. As you can see there, VG10. Its properties are, it's relatively easy to sharpen, and it gets very sharp in my opinion. I mean, this knife right here, compared to my other ones, and what's going to be different than this Paramilitary 2, is this knife actually gets sharper than this knife. This knife gets sharper than any knife I have. And from one of the reasons why is because of the VG10 steel, but the other reason is the thinner the knife of the blade, the thinner the blade of the knife, the sharper it'll be. And one thing to really look at is right there, the spine. I'll get a comparison with this one. But the spine is a lot thinner. So what that means is that's going to be more of a slicing knife. So this knife absolutely slices. This knife is definitely not perfect. I'm going to tell you things I don't like about it. Is that you have to be very delicate with it. Even though it's a slicer, it's made for those types of things. You would not be able to take this thing in the woods, and if you wanted to make a fire, you wouldn't be able to cut bark or cut timber, things like that, because this tip will split off. It is extremely thin, and it's almost fragile. It's even thinner than the Spyderco Sage. So I don't know if other videos are telling you this, but if you're ever in the market for this popular knife, Spyderco Delica or Spyderco Endura, they have changed the blade big time. It's not the old saber blade. A saber blade meaning that about right here, the blade it stuck out in a thicker fashion and then went down. This is FFG, which stands for full flat grind, where it's thin and gets thinner and thinner and thinner. So make sure you're buying this knife for what it's used for, which is just light EDC task. I had no idea it was going to be this thin, but I like it though. It's also extremely light. Let's get out the trusty scale and measure it. So it comes in at 2.3 ounces, which, if you know, that's weighs nothing. So it just slides into your pocket and you don't even know it's there. So just to kind of give you an idea of the blade thickness of it, it's about 0.095 inches. So I want to say more like 0.0393 inches, which is extremely thin blade steel. The blade length, the actual blade is under it's under 3 inches. It's 2.87 inches. So this is just a classic EDC knife under 3 inches. I would my stance on this knife as far as buying it or not, I would definitely say buy it, but it's just not a slam dunk buy it because you definitely need to know what you're getting because this is not a cheap knife. You're going to be spending anywhere between $60 to $80 for it, and you don't want to just spend $80 on a knife that can't do everything because this knife is limited to what it can do. Just a couple more things about it, of course. I always practice what I preach. That is right there. As I mentioned before, it's the number one thing I look for. That's what it would actually look like if it didn't have that. So that knife I was talking about before, that when you have blade play, that's what it looks like. So imagine you're stuck with that. This is wobbling all over the place and you can't tighten it. But with this one, you can. You just flip it over, tighten that screw, and this locks up. Other than that, that's all I'll really have to say about this knife. I have someone helping me do this video, so I don't have to hold the knife. It makes it a little bit easier. I don't want to make my videos too long where I'm boring you, but I just want to give you my opinion about the knives, the technical, the specs about them, what I recommend buying them, and what I use them for, and more importantly, why I like to pair it to better than Delica. Just to answer that lastly, again, it's always the versatility of this knife can do everything. Anything I need it to do, it will do it. Where this knife is a very nice knife, but it's severely limited in its capabilities. So that's another knife review from Praxis. I'll be doing some more here soon. So keep watching and take care.